Buenas, espero que ustedes se encuentren bien. Hoy les voy a enseñar a expresar la posesión en español. Today we are going to learn how to express possession in Spanish. As you can see, there are primarily three ways that we can do this, okay? What's the first way? So we can use possessive adjectives, right? And let's read what's on the board. These will agree with the noun in terms of number. So that's the first thing you need to note. They have to agree with the noun in terms of number, okay? However, there are two exceptions, nuestro and vuestro. These will agree with the noun in terms of gender as well. So when it comes to possessive adjectives, we have to consider the number of the noun, and in the case of nuestro and vuestro, which correspond to nosotros and vosotros respectively, we have to also consider gender with those two. So number is for everyone, but number and gender only apply to nuestro and vuestro. But let us look at the various subjects and the corresponding possessive adjective, okay? So yo is I, first person singular. The corresponding possessive adjective is going to be me, my, and of course I put the S to indicate plurality because you can have me or mis if the noun is plural. If the noun is plural, it will be mis. Two, you, second person singular, becomes tú or tus. Él, he, ella, she, usted, you, formal you, become su, right? Su or sus. As you see, there's some ambiguity there. Nosotros or nosotras becomes nuestro or nuestras, okay? Vosotros, of course, if you're in Spain, becomes vuestro or vuestras. Ellos or ellas, they, and ustedes become su. So once again, the third person plural has some ambiguity. So I've placed the subject and the corresponding possessive adjective. Okay. So let's look at some sample sentences, all right? So we have, sus padres están aquí. His parents are here. So sus could refer to her, it could refer to their, or it could refer to his, and we are referring to his. So by context, we would know which subject is being or who is the owner. If we just say sus padres están aquí, and we had to say that sentence with no other supporting details, it would be unclear whose parents are here, right? But when we want to be more specific, we do something different, and we'll get into that shortly. But sus padres están aquí, his parents are here. Tengo que limpiar mi habitación. I have to clean my bedroom. So in this case, me, because we are talking about the first person singular is the owner, yo, and habitación is a singular noun, and gender is not a factor when it comes to this possessive adjective, so it just becomes mi habitación. Yeah? And as you see with the first example, because gender is not a factor, it is just, we have to only worry about number, it becomes sus, right? Now, let's look at one that requires let's look at one that's affected by gender, like nuestro, por ejemplo, okay? So this one, nuestro objetivo es sacar buenas notas. Our objective is to get good grades. So nuestro has to agree with not only not only has to agree with objetivo, but it also has to agree with, well, we're talking about ours, so I probably should not say that, but it has to agree with the noun in terms of gender and number, right? So objetivo is singular and masculine, so it would be nuestro. Okay? If we want to turn that into a feminine possessive adjective, we would say something like nuestra meta es sacar buenas notas. So it has to be nuestra because meta is singular and feminine. If we want to make it plural, we could say something like, we could use the same example. Nuestros objetivos son fundamentales. Our objectives are fundamental. Muy bien. So when it comes to possessive adjectives, you have to choose the possessive adjective that corresponds to the noun. And by the noun, I'm referring to the owner. And then you have to make sure that that possessive adjective agrees with the noun that is being referenced in terms of number. But in the case of nosotros and vosotros, you have to pay attention to gender as well. Muy bien. Sigamos. So the second way that we can express possession is going to be the use of prepositional phrases. Now, with prepositional phrases, this is where we are being more specific. So in these examples, we aren't really being specific. Like when we say sus padres, that could refer to a variety of persons, but through context we would know who is being referenced. But in this case, if we want to be more specific, we actually want to mention the individual, we use prepositional phrases, and this is going to be the formula. So we use the possession followed by the preposition de, followed by the possessor or the owner. Okay, so in English this will be apostrophe s. You know how in English we add the apostrophe s to indicate that something belongs to someone or something? Right. This is how we would form that in Spanish. So the apostrophe s is going to be this structure: possession followed by de, followed by the possessor. So for example, los padres de Claudio están aquí. Claudio's parents are here. So you see, the apostrophe s is this entire prepositional phrase. Claudio's parents are here. So los padres de Claudio. You can't say Claudio's padres. No, that is incorrect. Spanish is different. So the possession followed by the de, followed by the possessor. So los padres de Claudio están aquí. Similarly, la habitación de Susana está limpia. Susana's bedroom is clean. Right? So you have to express it like that. The bedroom of Susana is clean. Otro ejemplo. El coche de Manuel es bonito. Manuel's car is beautiful. So you see, el coche de Manuel. The car of Manuel or Manuel's car. See? Fácil, ¿sí? Muy bien. Okay, so this is the second way in which we can express possession, okay? Now the third way is with the use of possessive pronouns, all right? And as you know, pronouns generally replace nouns, but they must agree with the noun in terms of gender and number. And like the possessive adjectives, each subject is going to have its own form, and that form will agree with the noun in terms of gender and number. So the difference here is that every subject is affected by gender and number. You know, in the case of the possessive adjectives, it was mainly number, but it was only nosotros and vosotros forms that were affected by gender as well. But here, everybody is affected by gender and number, okay? So, yo, I, of course. Mine would be the possessive pronoun form, which would be mío, mías, or mío, mía, or míos, mías, of course, right? So each one is going to have like 4 equivalents for each subject, because you're going to have mío, you're going to have míos, you're going to have mía, and then you're going to have mías. So each subject will have 4 forms. And I'll show you how it is formulated shortly, okay? Tú, you, tuyo, tuyas, or no, sorry, tuyo, tuyos, tuya, tuyas. Él, ella, usted, suyo, suyos, suya, suyas. Nuestro, nuestro, nuestras, nuestro, nuestros, nuestra, nuestras. Vosotros, vuestro, vuestros, vuestra, vuestras. Ellos, ellas, ustedes, suyo, suyos, suya, suyas. So each form is going to have 4 derivatives. Yeah, 4 variants. Now, when we put these in a sentence, we have to use the definite article that corresponds to the noun that is being referenced in terms of gender and number. So this one is a little more complicated. So this is going to be the formula: el, la, los, las, followed by the possessive pronoun, which would be one of these, which should be what is on the board on the left hand side, okay? So for example, and by the way, we do not use the article with ser. So anytime we're using the verb ser, we omit the article. We just use the possessive pronoun, okay? So, tengo que limpiar la mía. We've replaced the noun. I have to clean mine. But la mía, what is la mía? La mía is going to be anything that is singular and feminine, right? We know it belongs to me, of course. But la mía, it has to be a noun that is singular and feminine. So, la mía could replace mi habitación, my bedroom. Habitación is singular and feminine. So, la mía can replace that. I have to clean mine. If I wanted to make that masculine, I could say, tengo que limpiar el mío. Okay? El mío in this case could replace anything that is singular and masculine, such as mi coche. Okay? And over here, ellos van a ir a la nuestra. They are going to go to ours. La nuestra can replace any noun that is singular and feminine. So la nuestra could replace la boda, wedding, la fiesta, the party. So when it comes to the possessive pronoun, it is important that you use the article that corresponds to the gender and number of the noun. And of course, you would use the pronoun that also corresponds to the gender and number of the noun. So the two have to work together, right? You can't say el mía. That makes no sense. El mío or los míos. Okay? Another example, otro ejemplo. Estos libros son tuyos, right? Are these books yours? Are these your, well, yeah, are these books yours? So, tuyos replaces tus libros. And of course, libros would be plural, and we're talking about two. So they're plural and they're masculine. So the correct possessive pronoun would be tuyos. And because we have utilized ser, we don't use the article. So estos libros son tuyos. Are these books yours? Muy bien. Also, there's the neuter pronoun, which is lo. If we want to reference something that is abstract, non-specific, or undefined, we use lo, right? And of course, it does not refer to a masculine object. It is, abstract, non-specific, or undefined. So, for example, if I say lo mío es el fútbol, that is basically saying my thing is football. Like I have a passion for football. So we usually use that when we're talking about like passions too. We can use it for that purpose. So lo mío es el fútbol, right? Or lo nuestro es suyo, right? That means what is ours is yours. But I have not specified what is ours, what that refers to. So we can use the neuter pronoun in that context. So lo followed by the masculine form, but it's not referring to anything masculine, okay? It's neuter. All right, and let me share a quick little, not story, but it's related to this. I guess it is part of a story. It's related to, possession. So when I was in Colombia a few months ago, the guest house, so I stayed at a guest house, right? And I remember one time, one of the chefs brought she brought was it dinner or lunch? She brought us our lunch, right? And there was a dog walking around the table or something like that. Yeah, there was a dog walking around the table, and I asked her, "Le pertenece," which means, "Does it belong to you?" And she was like, "Sí." But then she said that another way that I could have said it, which I already knew, but I still appreciated the feedback. She said that I could have also said es suyo, right? Which means, is it yours? So we use suyo because we are talking usted. I'm referencing her as usted, right? Which is going to be, suyo. But the dog is masculine and singular, so it is perro. So es suyo. So I was just showing off a bit by using a more difficult structure technically, le pertenece, instead of saying es suyo, is it yours? Now, if I were addressing her as a familiar person, I would have asked, or I could have asked, es tuyo. So I just wanted to share that as a little story that is related to this topic. Okay, es todo por hoy. Espero que ustedes hayan entendido todo lo que hemos estudiado hoy. Muchas gracias por ver y nos vemos.